Chapter 16. What followed showed that Mrs. Strickland was a woman of character. Whatever anguish she suffered, she concealed. She saw shrewdly that the world is quickly bored by the recital of misfortune, and willingly avoids the sight of distress. Whenever she went out, and compassion for her misadventure made her friends eager to entertain her, she bore a demeanor that was perfect. She was brave, but not too obviously, cheerful, but not brazenly, and she seemed more anxious to listen to the troubles of others than to discuss her own. Whenever she spoke of her husband, it was with pity. Her attitude towards him at first perplexed me. One day she said to me, "You know, I'm convinced you are mistaken about Charles being alone. From what I've been able to gather from certain sources that I can't tell you, I know that he didn't leave England by himself. In that case, he has a positive genius for covering up his tracks." She looked away and slightly colored. "What I mean is, if anyone talks to you about it, please don't contradict it if they say he eloped with somebody." "Of course not." She changed the conversation as though it were a matter to which she attached no importance. I discovered presently that a peculiar story was circulating among her friends. They said that Charles Strickland had become infatuated with a French dancer whom he had first seen in the ballet at the Empire and had accompanied her to Paris. I could not find out how this had arisen, but, singularly enough, it created much sympathy for Mrs. Strickland, and at the same time gave her not a little prestige. This was not without its use in the calling which she had decided to follow. Colonel MacAndrew had not exaggerated when he said she would be penniless, and it was necessary for her to earn her own living as quickly as she could. She made up her mind to profit by her acquaintance with so many writers, and without loss of time began to learn shorthand and typewriting. Her education made it likely that she would be a typist more efficient than the average, and her story made her claims appealing. Her friends promised to send her work, and took care to recommend her to all theirs. The MacAndrews, who were childless and in easy circumstances, arranged to undertake the care of the children, and Mrs. Strickland had only herself to provide for. She let her flat and sold her furniture. She settled in 2 tiny rooms in Westminster and faced the world anew. She was so efficient that it was certain she would make a success of the adventure.